let's speak about marriage and childbirth in the Millennial Kingdom. Shalom Mishpaka, I greet you brothers and sisters in the name of Yahushua HaMashiach, Baruch Bahashem, the Most High Yahuwah, and His Ben Yahushua. Depending on what you are expecting to happen in the last days, your views may differ. But for those of us who understand the end time based off of scripture, and I'm referring to both the Old Testament and New Testament, and of course apocryphal books, I'm referring to the scriptures. Yahushua said, search the scriptures. So those of you who would have been dwelling in the belly of scriptures, you would recognize that the rapture is a false doctrine. And you would know that the second Exodus is what is truly prophesied to happen in the last days. So Yasharal, just like the first Exodus would have happened, and our forefathers were taken from out of the land of Mitzrayim, the waters were parted, they went into the wilderness for a time, and then they were taken into the promised land. It's the exact same thing that's going to happen, but in this case, Yasharal, they're scattered throughout the four corners of the Eretz, the earth. So the exact same thing is going to happen all across the earth. That is what is going to happen in the last days. So there are going to be many of us who have not seen death that is going to be in the Millennial Kingdom. I'm talking about Yahushua's reign on earth for 1,000 years, where he reigned as king amongst his people. And of course, those who would have passed would also be risen to meet Mashiach at his coming. And our forefathers, for instance, Abraham, Adam, Noah, all of them who would have passed, and their righteous seed after them, they're all going to be in that renewed kingdom with us, reigning on this very earth. I'm not speaking about new heaven, new earth. We're not at that part of end time prophecy as yet. We're speaking about what takes us to that new heaven, new earth. I'm speaking about the Millennial Kingdom. Let me say this. Those who would have passed, they're not given into marriage. They're not going to be having kids. But those of us who would have not seen death, we're still going to be given into marriage in that Millennial Kingdom. And we'd still be able to produce. We're still going to have kids. And we're going to dive into scripture to prove all things. Let's first understand what happens to those persons who are going to be resurrected as it relates to being given into marriage and childbirth. So we start our journey in the book of Matthew, chapter 22, and we're going to be reading from verse 22 all the way through 33. It reads, "On that day, Sadducees who say there is no resurrection came to him and asked him," who is him? Yahushua, saying, "Teacher, Moses said that if anyone should die having no children, his brother shall marry his wife and raise offspring for his brothers." But let's stop, because these Sadducees did not believe in resurrection. So we must recognize that there are two resurrections. There is the first resurrection, and then there is the second resurrection. The first happens at Mashiach's return. Let's read precept upon precept. Revelation chapter 20, verse 4 through 6. "And I saw thrones, and they sat on them, and judgment was given to them. And the lives of those who had been beheaded because of the witness they bore to Yahushua, and because of the word of Yahuwah, and who did not worship the beast, nor his image, and did not receive his mark upon their foreheads or upon their hands. And they lived and reigned with Mashiach, for 1,000 years." The Millennial Kingdom. Yeah. "And the rest of the dead did not come to life until the 1,000 years were ended. This is the first resurrection. Baruch, blessed, and Kadesh, kind of like holy, is the one having part in the first resurrection. The second death possesses no authority over those, but they shall be Kohen of Yahuwah, priest of Yahuwah, and of Mashiach, and shall reign with him 1,000 years. So we recognized that there are two resurrections, and that there is also a second death. That second death is what happens in hell. Those people have no part in hell. Okay? So we're back in the book of Matthew, chapter 22. And let's see what the Sadducees are asking Yahusha. So remember, they asked about marriage. And there were with us 7 brothers. And the first died after he had married, and having no children, left his wife to his brother. In the same way, the second also, and the third on to the 7th. And the last of all, the woman died too. At the resurrection, then, whose wife of the 7 shall she be? For all had her. And Yahusha answering said to them, you go astray, not knowing the scriptures, nor the power of Allah. Not knowing the scriptures, okay? For in resurrection, they do not marry, nor are they given in marriage, but are as messengers of Allah in the Shemayim. So they're going to be like angels, like the Malak, the Malakim. Verse 31. And concerning the resurrection of the dead, have you not read what was spoken to you by Allah, saying, I am the Allah of Abraham, and the Allah of Isaac, and the Allah of Jacob. Yahuwah is not the Allah of the dead, but of the living. And when the crowds heard, they were astonished at his teaching. Yada Yahuwah. So there is no marriage, there is no childbirth for those people who would have passed. But remember, for those that's going to be gathered during the second Exodus, we would not die. We would have still been here in body. So, are we then able to be given into marriage? I'm a woman. I'm not yet married. I desire to be married. I desire to have more kids. So, what if the second Exodus is to happen next month? And 3.5 years later, because we know that we're going to be in the wilderness for a time and times and half a time, 3.5 years. For those who understand the scriptures, you understand what I'm saying. So let's say during that 3.5 years, I have not yet been married. Does that mean I do not get a chance to have a husband and to have kids during that 1,000 years? Let us see what scripture says, because I'm going to show you that marriage and childbearing still happens. It will happen for those of us who have not seen death. So we are in the book of Ezekiel, chapter 44. A little bit of context about Ezekiel, chapter 44. In fact, Ezekiel chapter 40 all the way through chapter 48 is all about the millennial kingdom. Ezekiel chapter 44, verse 21 through 23 speaks about the Kohen or the priest whom they are able to take as wives. Verse 21 reads, and no Kohen or priest is to drink wine when he comes into the inner court of the temple. the millennial temple. And they do not take as wife a widow or a divorced woman, but the maidens of the seed of the house of Yasharel, or widows of Kohanim, or another priest. Widows of another priest. Verse 23, and they are to teach my people between the Kadesh, holy, and the profane, and make them know what is unclean and clean. How about the book of Jeremiah, or Yirmiyahu, chapter 23, verse 3. But I'm going to read up to verse 4 and 5 for a little bit more context. And here you recognize that this is speaking about the second Exodus also. Verse 3 reads, therefore, I shall gather the remnant of my flock out of all the lands where I have driven them, and shall bring them back to their fold, and they shall bear and increase. Some translation would say, and they shall be fruitful and increase. But it's the same thing. Verse 4, and I shall rise up shepherds over them, and they shall feed them, and they shall fear no more, nor be discouraged, nor shall they be lacking, declares Yahuwah. See, the days are coming, declares Yahuwah, when I shall rise for David a branch of righteousness, and the sovereign shall reign and act wisely, and shall do right ruling and righteousness in the earth. This is a prophecy about Yahusha's kingship. This is foretelling of Yahusha reigning in that millennial kingdom. So now we're in Jeremiah chapter 32, and we're going to read from verse 37. And you will see that this is indeed speaking about the second Exodus, and also showing that childbearing will still be happening in the millennial kingdom. It reads, see, I am gathering them out of all the lands where I have driven them in my displeasure and in my wrath and in great rage, and I shall bring them back to this place, and shall let them dwell in safely. And they shall be my people, and I shall be their Alua, or their Elohim. And I shall give them one heart and one way, to revere me all the days, for the good of them and of their children after them, and for their children after them. And I shall make an everlasting covenant with them, or agreement with them, that I do not turn back from doing good to them. And I shall put my reverence in their hearts, so as not to turn aside from me. How about Zechariah chapter 10 from verse 6? It reads, and I shall make the house of Yehuda mighty, or Judah, and save the house of Joseph. And I shall bring them back, because I have compassion on them. And they shall be as though I had not pushed them aside. For I am Yahuwah, dear Alua, and I answer them. And Ephraim shall be as a mighty man, and their heart shall rejoice, as if with mine. And their children shall see and rejoice, their heart exulting in Yahuwah. I shall whistle for them and gather them, for I shall ransom them, and they shall increase as they once increased. And they shall bring forth children, Mishpachah. They shall increase, they shall be fruitful as they once was fruitful. And we cannot end this study without bringing in what's written in the book of 2nd Baruch, chapter 73, which is all about the millennial kingdom. I would advise you to also read chapter 74, because it's just a continuation. So particularly verse 7, but we will read the entire chapter. Verse 1 reads, and it will happen after he has brought down everything which is in the world, and has sat down in eternal shalom or eternal peace on the throne of the kingdom. And then joy will be revealed and rest will appear. And I'm a pause. The millennial kingdom is 1,000 years of rest. It's a Sabbath, a Shabbatot. It's a Sabbath of rest, that entire 1,000 years. And I'll continue in verse 2. And then health will descend in dew, and illness will vanish, and fear and tribulation and lamentation will pass away from among men, and joy will encompass the earth. And nobody will again die untimely. So no more death. Death will be taken away from those in that kingdom. Nor will any adversity take place suddenly. Unjust judgments, condemnations, contentions, revenges, blood, passions, zeal, hate, and all such things will go into condemnations, since they will be uprooted. For these are the things that have filled the earth with evils, and because of them life of men come in yet greater confusions. And the wild beast will come from the wood and serve men, and the asp and the dragons will come out of their holes to subject themselves to a child. And I'm a pause, because asp and dragons here are venomous serpents. These are venomous serpents. And this is also a precept to what is written in the book of Jeremiah, as well as the book of Yeshayahu. Animals no longer harming men or harming children. This is written in the book of Jeremiah or Jeremiah, and Yeshayahu or Isaiah. Verse 7 reads, and women will no longer have pain when they bear, nor will they be tormented when they yield the fruit of their womb. Yada Yahuwah. Now this right here, no doubt, is indeed speaking about childbearing in that millennial kingdom. Isaiah chapter 56 verse 20 reads, no more is an infant from there going to live but a few days, nor an old man who does not complete his days. For the youth dies 100 years old, but the sinners, being 100 years old, shall be lightly esteemed. Ezekiel chapter 36 verse 11. But let's read from verse 9. For look, I am for you, and I shall turn to you, and you shall be tilled and sown, and I shall increase men upon you, all the house of Yasharal, all of it. And the cities shall be inhabited, and the ruins rebuilt, and I shall increase upon you man and beast, and they shall increase and bear young, and I shall make you inhabited as of old, and do better for you than at your beginnings, and you shall know that I am Yahweh. So here it lets us know that we will increase in both man and beast, and they shall bear young. They shall be fruitful. And finally, Ezekiel chapter 36, verse 37 reads, thus said the Adon Yahuwah, once again, I shall let the house of Yasharal inquire of me to do for them. I shall increase their men like flock. Yada Yahuwah.